for years, fans of Turkish television have been fascinated by the remarkable chemistry between Barış Arduc and Elçin Sangu. When the two appeared together as Ömer and Defne in Kiralık Aşk, their performances felt so natural that viewers began wondering whether the connection they saw on screen reflected something deeper in real life. The series premiered in 2015 and quickly became one of the productions most closely associated with both actors. But behind the excitement, another story was developing. A story about friendship, professional trust, distance, and rumors that continued long after the cameras stopped rolling. To understand why the rumors became so powerful, it is important to return to the beginning. Before Kiralık Aşk, Barış Arduc and Elçin Sangu were not established as a famous pair outside the screen. In interviews connected with the series, both actors described the project as an important new chapter in their careers. Elçin explained that the romantic comedy project arrived unexpectedly, while Baris said he had received several offers after his previous work and eventually chose Kiralık Aşk as one of those opportunities. Their first professional meeting, therefore, did not begin with years of friendship or a known personal history. It began with two actors being brought together for a television story that required them to create a convincing emotional connection. And that connection quickly became the heart of the series. Elçin Sangu portrayed Defne, a young woman whose life becomes unexpectedly complicated when she enters a relationship arrangement surrounding Ömer. Barış Arduc portrayed Ömer, a reserved and successful character whose personality was very different from Defne's energetic nature. Their differences became one of the reasons audiences found the pair so engaging. Baris himself explained that the contrast between the characters helped create the visual and emotional harmony viewers noticed. The audience was not simply watching two actors deliver lines. They were watching two very different characters gradually become connected, and the performances made that journey feel believable. That is where the first rumors began to gain strength. When viewers become emotionally invested in a fictional couple, it is natural for some of them to imagine that the performers must share a similar connection away from the screen. Every smile, every shared moment, and every interview can suddenly become something fans want to interpret. In the case of Baris and Elçin, their professional chemistry was particularly convincing. Their characters were written to create romantic tension, emotional uncertainty, humor, and affection, and both actors committed themselves to making those scenes feel genuine. But acting convincingly is not the same thing as confirming a private relationship. This distinction became especially important when Baris was directly asked about his relationship with Elçin during an interview in 2015. Rather than encouraging the speculation, he gave a clear answer. He described Elçin as a very good friend and someone he cared about, while stating that there was no special romantic relationship between them. That statement is one of the clearest pieces of evidence available from the period when the rumors were at their strongest. Yet rumors rarely disappear simply because an actor gives an explanation. The reason was simple. Audiences loved Ömer and Defne. For many viewers, the fictional relationship was so memorable that separating the characters from the performers became difficult. Fans wanted to believe that the warmth they saw between Ömer and Defne existed beyond the fictional world. Social media discussions, fan edits, photographs, interviews, and behind-the-scenes moments could all become part of a much larger narrative. A casual interaction could be interpreted as a meaningful clue. A period when the actors were not seen together could be interpreted as distance, and when they appeared together again, fans could wonder whether the connection had returned. But there was another side to their story that deserves attention. Both actors repeatedly emphasized the importance of the entire team behind Kiralık Aşk. In interviews, Baris explained that the show's success could not be attributed only to the chemistry between him and Elçin. He pointed to the writers, director, producer, actors, and wider production team as important parts of the successful combination. Elçin similarly described the set as unusually united and said she was very happy working with the team. That perspective changes the way their famous chemistry can be understood. Perhaps what viewers interpreted as a mysterious personal connection was, at least in significant part, the result of two talented performers working within an exceptionally successful creative environment. They understood their characters, trusted the people around them, and responded naturally to one another during performances. The result was something audiences could feel, and when audiences can feel a connection, they often want an explanation. The title of this story asks about love, distance, and rumors, but the truth requires something more careful than simply choosing one dramatic answer. There is no reliable basis to present a secret romance between Barış Arduc and Elçin Sangu as an established fact. What can be discussed is the extraordinary professional bond they demonstrated on screen, the friendship Baris publicly described, and the enormous attention their fictional romance received from viewers. Their story also shows how quickly entertainment can blur the line between fiction and reality. For Baris and Elcin, Omer and Defne became characters that millions of viewers remembered. But behind those characters were two separate people with their own careers, lives, responsibilities, and personal boundaries. The audience could follow the fictional romance, but that did not mean the actors had to live the same story away from the cameras. And that may be the most interesting part of all. Because the more convincing their performances became, the more people wanted to know what was happening when the cameras were no longer recording. Was the chemistry simply excellent acting? Was there a friendship that audiences misunderstood? Did distance after the series change the way fans viewed them? Or did the rumors themselves become bigger than the original story? Those questions would continue to follow the pair, even as their professional journeys moved forward. And in the next part, we will look more closely at the period when Cyrillic Ask became a major success, why the Baris and Elcin pairing became so popular, and how their public statements contrasted with the rumors that continued to surround them. As Cyrillic Ask continued to attract viewers, the connection between Barış Arduc and Elçin Sangu became one of the most discussed elements of the series. What made their partnership especially interesting was that neither actor had entered the production with a long personal history together. Baris later explained that he and Elcin had not known each other before working on the series, but he remembered feeling a strong professional energy from their first meeting. He also explained that the differences between their characters helped create the balance audiences noticed. That contrast became almost symbolic. Omer was composed, serious, and reserved, while Defne brought warmth, humor, and a much more energetic personality to their fictional relationship. Instead of competing with one another, those differences made their scenes feel balanced. Baris himself suggested that this contrast was part of what made the pairing visually and dramatically appealing. The audience saw two very different personalities gradually discovering something meaningful in one another, and that fictional journey became one of the strongest reasons viewers continued watching. But there was something else happening behind the scenes. The success was not simply the result of two actors standing together in front of cameras. Baris emphasized that a successful production required many elements to work together: the script, direction, production team, actors, and the overall atmosphere on set. He specifically rejected the idea that the show's success could be explained only by his chemistry with Elcin. According to his comments, the entire team had to create the right energy for the production to work. Elcin expressed a similar feeling about the working environment. She described the Cyrillic Ask team as unusually close and said she was genuinely happy working with them. Her comments provide an important piece of context because they showed that the atmosphere surrounding the actors was not simply about romance or speculation. There was a broader sense of teamwork and professional connection throughout the production. Still, viewers naturally focused on Baris and Elcin. Every successful romantic series creates a powerful illusion. When two performers are able to make fictional affection feel believable, audiences begin to emotionally invest in them as a pair. The characters may be fictional, but the feelings experienced by the viewers are real. They laugh with the characters, worry about them, celebrate their important moments, and become curious about what happens outside the story. That curiosity can easily cross into speculation. In the case of Baris and Elcin, the speculation became particularly persistent because their performances were so convincing. Fans began asking whether their closeness continued away from the set. Some wondered whether their friendship could eventually become something more. Others simply enjoyed imagining that Ömer and Defne's story might have a parallel in real life. But Baris addressed those questions directly. In September 2015, while discussing his co-star, he said that Elcin was a very good friend and someone he cared about, but he clearly stated that there was no special romantic relationship between them. He also said that he understood why viewers paired them together, because they loved the series and enjoyed seeing the two actors together. That statement is important because it separates what was confirmed from what was imagined. The confirmed part was that Baris and Elcin had developed a friendly, professional relationship. They worked closely together, trusted each other on screen, and became associated with one of the most popular fictional couples of their careers. The unconfirmed part was the idea that they were secretly romantically involved. And yet, rumors have a strange way of surviving. Once an audience becomes attached to a theory, even a direct explanation may not end the discussion. Instead, every new photograph, interview, or public appearance can create another round of speculation. If the actors appear close, fans may see it as confirmation. If they appear distant, others may interpret that as evidence of a hidden disagreement. In reality, neither interpretation necessarily tells us what is happening privately. This is where the idea of distance becomes particularly interesting. Professional distance does not necessarily mean personal conflict. Actors can work together intensely for months or years and later move into completely different professional circles. New projects bring new colleagues, new schedules, and new responsibilities. A reduction in public appearances together can simply mean that their careers have moved in different directions. For fans, however, the change can feel dramatic. During Karalik Ask, Baris and Elcin were constantly connected in the public imagination. Their names appeared together because their characters were central to the same story. Promotional events, interviews, publicity, and fan attention naturally placed them side by side. Once the production environment changed, that constant connection could no longer continue in exactly the same way. That does not automatically mean the friendship disappeared. It means the circumstances changed. This distinction matters because celebrity stories are often simplified into two extremes. Either two people are secretly close, or they have completely fallen apart. Real relationships are usually much more complicated. Professional friendships can remain respectful, even when people no longer spend every day together. Two former co-stars can appreciate one another without constantly appearing together in public. The history of Baris and Elcin provides a strong example of this complexity. When they first joined Karalik Ask, both were focused on making the production successful. Elcin quickly connected with the character of Defne, while Baris recognized the potential of Ömer and the overall story. Both actors later described the production as a significant professional experience. Neither of them needed a secret personal relationship to explain the success. The story already had something powerful: two performers who understood their characters and worked effectively together. That is perhaps why the rumors became so fascinating in the first place. The audience could see something genuine in their performances, but genuine professional chemistry can be mistaken for personal romance. The more natural the performances become, the harder it can be for viewers to remember where the fictional relationship ends. And there was another reason the speculation continued. The characters themselves became unforgettable. Ömer and Defne were not simply another television couple. Their personalities were built around contrast, uncertainty, humor, emotional growth, and romantic tension. Viewers became invested in their journey, and Baris and Elcin became strongly identified with those roles. For some fans, seeing them separately afterward felt almost strange. It was as though two people who had become inseparable in fiction were suddenly living completely separate professional lives in reality. That difference between fiction and reality became the central mystery. Did Baris and Elcin ever share a genuine friendship? Yes, Baris publicly described Elcin as a very good friend. Was there confirmed evidence of a secret romance? The available statements do not establish that. Did their on-screen chemistry create widespread rumors? Absolutely. And did their later professional distance prove that something had gone wrong? No. Distance alone cannot prove a private conflict or hidden relationship. The safest conclusion is also the most realistic one. Their remarkable chemistry was real as a professional performance. Their friendship was publicly acknowledged, and the romantic relationship belonged to the fictional world unless the actors themselves said otherwise. But the story did not end when the series ended. Their careers continued, their public lives evolved, and the audience continued to compare every new development with the unforgettable image of Ömer and Defne's. And that is where the next chapter becomes even more intriguing. Because once the series became part of television history, fans were no longer asking only whether Baris and Elcin were close. They began asking a different question. Could the two stars ever reunite on screen again? And if they did, would the old chemistry return? That question would keep their names connected long after their original story had reached its conclusion.